I think we're ready. How do I get back out of this?
Hit escape. Type in your password.
Oh my God.
Password 123.
Yep. Mickey
G3L3.
malt liquor.
Auto config.
All right, morning, guys.
Morning,
Girls.
teacher.
We noticed.
Right?
Okay, so basically this is like basically the second part of many parts of training D-Tools, basically operation. This section, first section, of course, recapping real quick, is how we learned how to set up the job, creating the job in D-Tools, and getting the TD number for bidding wise. What I didn't really cover, what I want to take a step back, is entering new clients into our database. So basically, like I said, we covered 101, covering the steps in starting a project. The issue TD number. First portion of this class is basically learning how to enter a new client into Teledata's client database if one does not already exist. Second part will cover general practice of building your projects by utilizing and the importance of locations and systems, which we kind of went over in the first class. We'll dive a little bit deeper into those. This will also include adding of products into your specific project if they do not exist within our catalog. Reason why I want to cover it in this is I heard there's some issues that, of course, with our catalog, we're probably at over 15,000 parts already in there, and we're not even covering everything that we use on a regular basis. So it's one of those things that's material will be added constantly over time type deal. But we're not trying to overload the system, because if you overload the system and start downloading everything from, for instance, D-Tools has their own catalog, we're talking a couple million parts that's going to be uploaded onto our share drive, which is just going to suck up a lot of memory. So we tried to set it up on stuff that we use on a regular basis, CommScope, Cat6, Blue, Plenum type deal, and so forth, the more common day-to-day products that we use on all our projects. So covering the new client entry, currently D-Tools shows 1,091 clients that exist in our system. This includes end users, general contractors, electrical contractors across all regions. Please verify a client is already in a database to avoid duplications. That's one thing that we have with not just the clients, but with the products, multiple duplications. We want to try and alleviate that.
Can someone go through and clean those up if we see a duplicate? We report that to Jay, or
we'll probably have to discuss that later on.
okay.
Depends on who set the clients up. A lot of them were set up from people who are no longer with the company. So it might be just changing the office contact or Teledata's contact with that specific client. So identifying the client database in D-Tools. D-Tools has two areas to choose from. Both have the same function, kind of similar how we set up the project. Can't see with this damn glare of this light.
Light out.
Would you guys be able to see?
Turn the front lights off.
Yeah, different. I think it's all or nothing.
Back there by the.
Can you guys see the screen a lot better now without the glare? So first point here is I noted on the sheets that you guys have, at the top center, you see the icon people. Clicking that drop down and clicking clients. Vendors and contacts really don't apply to you guys. So we're just focused on entering clients. Second location, like I always said before, D-Tools has multiple areas to get to the same window, is at the bottom here. Same deal as it reads as the front, clients. So we click on that. We're gonna go to what's current in our database. Like I said, there's over 1,000, almost 1,100 clients already in here. Listed in alphabetical order. Hey, can I move that window?
Oh,
Top right?
let me see. No promises, keep working.
Because the other office can probably see it, but you guys can't see it here. I just wanted to point out that underneath here, it's a search.
Yeah, view just for center. Is there a?
Maybe I can shrink, I'll shrink it. Here, never mind, Cameron.
Yep.
I wasn't thinking.
Okay.
I got it. I got it.
So simply, right here, you can do a quick search to see if the client is already in the database. Also, you have the options to drill down to certain, starting with certain letters. Let me resize that again. It'll take you to all the Ks, L, M, whatever. So like again, good practice is always to try and do a search first to see if that client already exists in our database. Like I said, there was certain people that are no longer here with the company that probably had a contact with an end user. So it's probably already there, but it hasn't been used in a while. So we did a search. We don't see where we found the client is existing. So now we want to create a new, which we're covering in section 2.
I see duplicates
So you
already.
can see right there, keys, marked,
Yeah, see-
client and lead.
You got Kevin Cameron's license.
Well, that's kind of exactly what I said is we want to try until we can clean up that client
Should
list.
we sit down and sit in a room and clear it out one day?
No, I don't want to sit down.
You want to sit down with me?
Delegate.
Would that be a you or a J thing? Please.
I think it would be a team effort.
We all have view of this.
You guys should, I would have you. Have you used it before or no? Okay.
Well, what I see is the business name. I don't see a contact name. I do see an email address.
And that's the thing, if it's your client and you have added multiple points of contact in the company, instead of recreating it, we just go into the one that's existing and start adding the names and numbers,
So I
which
have
I'll
3 or 4.
which I'll cover in a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
So we've done the search, we can't find it, we want to create a new one. Using this icon at the top left there. By clicking on it, you'll open your new client database here. Which is,
I do that.
Step 1.
New projects.
That's me too.
yeah. So everything is pretty much self-explanatory. I kind of broke it down in step 1A, completing the following information within the boxes to be as accurate as possible. We want all the information on these because you guys got to keep in mind, a lot of these projects are still at bid. They're not actually a client, but we're potentially trying to do work with them. So putting all this information in here into D-Tools is going to have the information that you're going to need for accounting later on down the road.
Gary, have you set the required new customer fields up yet? Because there's a new feature.
Putting the asterisks? No, we haven't.
Okay.
We can talk about doing that, but I mean, I could put asterisks on everything. It's pretty much up to your guys' responsibility to make sure that you have your accurate information entered in each box here. So, you know, your name, typically if it's a business, Southwest Gas, NV Energy, this and that, we're using the name as the business who we're dealing with. Entering the point of contacts, we'll cover in a little bit. So client number is basically not applicable to you guys at all. Doesn't have to really be filled out. Phone, typical, you want to use the main line of the company, direct office. Direct lines to POCs covered under contacts in a little bit. Fax, not many people have fax anymore. So not really covered or needed. Email, we want to put we don't want to put our point of contacts here. So on this general screen here, it can basically be left blank because when we start adding further on, I'll cover in contacts, you're gonna put the name, person, their cell phone number or direct line, email, and that will be associated with that name instead of with the company.
Would that be like a purchasing email maybe, or for accounting?
Not necessarily, unless the only way I see email here is if we're dealing with one person direct, but how many times do we run into that? We're not, we're dealing with their, we're dealing,
with their PO people that.
yes, but we're dealing with their entity. This is basically the company's info, their general umbrella. So email, not necessarily. Website, I mean, if you do, I don't know how many of you guys do your due diligence and check websites to see what is their type of business, construction wise, IT, car dealerships, stuff like that. Right now, we're in, where we at? G, client type, using a drop down for the 3 types based off of where they stand within Teledata. A lot of times you guys will just, it'll be a lead. We're bidding to them. We don't actually do work on a regular basis. I mean, if they are, if they're a prospect, that means also, it's kind of, the way I look at it is kind of almost same as a lead. You know, there's potential with both of them, a lead and a prospect. And of course, once we have, I guess, what we say, built the relationship and they're on board and we start doing work with them on a regular basis, then they're going to change to a client.
You manage lead sources, what is that? I've never done that.
Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Right now, I'm gonna tell you guys are attracted to all these underlines on the right-hand side. A lot of you guys will not have admin rights to go into those stuffs. So it really wasn't pertaining. It's more for admin for making adjustments as we see fit going further down the road.
We don't use this as a CRM, so a lot of that is CRM related.
Right. Lead sources, I put it as not applicable. We're not gonna frown upon it if it's left empty or anything like that. So a lot of times, you know, leading it as a lead or prospect and then eventually changing this into as a client. Taxes, drop down section for taxes, based off the area of work for accurate, taxes allocated, as you can see here. Bless you. We've presetted some of these already for you. A lot of times we tend to use tax on everything. And I think I covered it a little bit in the first class, but just refresh on that. We use sales taxes are basically for box sales projects where there's no labor allocated with it. And sometimes you have to show taxes, bless you. You have to show your taxes as a separate line item, right, Jim?
Yeah.
On the
So-
proposal. Yeah.
Correct. But I think, me personally, as for a good rule of thumb, is just to set it up as use tax, because how many box sales have you done?
But it gives you a couple
I do.
extra percent.
I do.
You can- And then you can change it later within the project based on it. So
I like to use the use tax.
reason why using a use tax is that will not break out your tax on your material, on your proposal. So it will spit out as a lump sum. So always good practice is to always set it up as a use tax. So then when you go to spit out your proposal, you don't have
Tax line.
the tax line item separated underneath.
Does it default to that?
When you set it up, you have to select one of these on the taxes. Labor tax, we don't tax on labor, so that stays blank. Price type, we're using the day-to-day on everything. As you guys can see, we have some that are already pre-filled only because of what we do with them. Of course, we have to update this. It's not McCarran anymore, but you know, you have NV Energy, Southwest Gas, Panasonic, Gigafactory up in Reno. Those are set up basically because a lot of times we had the labor not the labor. Your product pricing was already locked in from back before on a lot of these, high-end clienteles that we have.
You talk about the markup on the product?
Yeah.
What we buy from the vendors was always a locked in price on the material.
Does that automatically adjust your pricing when you click on that?
Yes, we have to manually enter it in our catalog, but, there's only a few that James deals with,
Old
with
pricing.
Ed at the airport, so his prices are already locked in based off of what our contract is.
So there's no advantage to me entering the HCA pricing?
If you're stuck on set.
If you're locked in, then you would have to get with us later on if you have a locked in for like a national account type deal. And then we can set that up for you. And then this owner will be basically auto-populated with your name here. That's covering just the general. Addresses. Step 2,
Bring it up.
Step 2 is your addresses, gives you the ability to list the main building invoice address along with if your client has multiple locations. So we'll go to addresses, we click on new. And of course, here you have your drop down for type. Notice that you have billing, most likely where we're gonna send our invoices for payment. Might be their main headquarters, not necessarily here in Vegas, but the other regions or a national account. Others kind of not really, that's like an off thing, so not really used. Then your site. Might be the same as the billing, but you can enter it as that, so it will populate as 2 different addresses when you notice when you opened your projects. It had the top part was what billing, and then the bottom part was the job site, or vice versa. Kind of beneficial because you can enter as many sites as or addresses you want on these clients. So for an example, UPS, I've got 12 different facilities and they all go by a 5-digit letters. So I'm able to set it up as the name as NVLAS, and then I can put the physical address of that and then add all of them in there.
So I have a common billing address for all 3 hospitals. But I'd be better off setting up a different client and using the same billing address for all 3 rather than using
Right?
corporate and then having different sites.
No, then that's what I'm basically talking about, is setting up your general as your corporate, as in your general that we just went over. Adding billing for the corporate office, and then if it's 3 different job sites with 3 different addresses, you can list all 3 different job
Oh,
sites.
you can do 3 sites?
You can do as many you want for sites.
Oh, okay.
We can put in NV Energy and list you have the address already preloaded, and you just say Ryan Center, Beltway, and so forth. So when you go to set up a new job and D-Tools, you have the option already preloaded to show the address of where the work is gonna be conducted.
Because we email all of our invoices to a single address.
Yeah,
So
that's,
you can save
I
that
just
site
said that.
and then you
Yeah,
just
no,
add
but
another
I
site.
get it.
Is what you do?
I get it.
Huh?
Save that as a site, and then if you have another building, you add
Yeah.
another site to it? Okay.
Say you wanna put in that guy, you got an address, whatever, he's in Las Vegas, Nevada. Hit save, it'll populate onto underneath this window here. Then you wanna go in and put another one. And then you put in, he's in Henderson type deal, North Las Vegas. All,
Mountain
There's-
View, Sunrise, Southern.
you can put them all, list them, they're already pre-populated once you set this up.
The only
So
difference.
you don't
is
have to
that I
put the address in every single time you create a job to bid.
Well,
Get
the
all
only
the
difference would be,
sites.
I have projects go to the corporate office and jobs go to the Texas office. So I have a Nashville address for billing and I have a Texas address for billing. So I would have to have 2 clients.
You can enter multiple on your billing also.
Right. Oh, I can.
So, yes,
So there.
from what I know, there is no limit on entering. You can put both billings in there, and then you can also list it as a site. So when you go to set up the project, you can simply just change the billing in the project based off of whatever nickname you give it.
2 buildings and 3 sites all under one kind of customer.
Yep.
Okay,
As simple as that.
okay. I'm gonna fix that.
General notes, anything you want to, mention about your customer, stuff like that, that's open for you to use as your discretion. Get over to contacts. We're gonna hit new contacts. And this is where you're gonna basically put your point of contact. You have multiple point of contacts for North Las Vegas, or we're at the hospital, depending on their job title, facilities.
Hey, easy on the truck.
Did you guys
No,
mention
you're
this?
cool.
You,
Again, going back and trying filling out all this information once you set up this new client, then you don't have to change it ever again. It's already living in the database. Self-explanatory based on your contacts here. First name, last name, the company, of course, you're already gonna have that. What specific title are they? The director of facilities? Are they just a superintendent? Their phone, if you have their direct phone, instead of using a company phone, so you can call them directly to their desk. Mobile, fax not really used, their email address for the company. And that's pretty much it.
on the previous screen, you had new and something else. What did it say, new and what, pull down?
You and Ash.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
It's the same. It just gives you more options. It's there to confuse you.
Well, plus, Greg, in this example,
We want to
you
use new
don't have a
contact.
client.
Yeah,
So this is all new. So
Yeah.
perhaps on an
Yes.
actual, an existing client, you'll see add, yes.
Okay,
and I'm right now, since you asked the question, Greg, I'm gonna throw out a disclaimer. D-Tools has a revision every 3 hours for some reason, and it changes, and it's driving me and Jay nuts. Because we're at V21 now, which made some major differences to how we're operating. So what I'm saying today and the previous class might not be in a month or so, because we go through a V22 revision that D-Tools made some changes. So it's always a learning curve no matter what. Any questions on contacts?
And also after your revisions, if you notice anything squirrely, let us know right away so we can get it up the chain as a bug, because they do the release and then within 3 weeks, we usually get a hot patch, and then there's a hot patch for that one, and then it kind of calms down for a while.
Yeah, it's basically like a new iPhone. The first new iPhone always has glitches, right? And then they start to make the fixes. So if there is an issue, trust me, it's not us personally. It's just that their revisions of where they made based off of other companies who use D-Tools.
that's right, we still blame it on you.
That's fine. I got the thick skin. Custom fields, kind of same as, not necessarily. Custom fields in this particular area will probably never be used. We have never set it up because we don't have any purpose of using it right now. But it's
We're thinking about building silos by branch, so.
to further break it down so we can see where our clients are regional and stuff like that. So once you have everything completed, like I briefly will say, general, address, contacts, probably the 3 most important to fill out completely.
What would be the comment for?
If you maybe have a chain of events that, you have to have approval through,
Would that be like, say you had to go to an office to get a key?
yeah,
Something like
I would
that,
put
would you
that
put it in
stuff in there, or it takes
Badging
15 days.
process, stuff like
Yeah.
that and so forth.
Yeah, you gotta submit the
Well,
PO
yeah.
15 days, and it has to go through.
Where does that
Yeah,
information?
Bear
plug
in
out
mind,
at
this is the client,
It won't
so
print it out.
that's probably more specific
It's-
to the project.
Correct.
So it's, okay.
So, well, I don't use notes, custom fields or comments. I just make sure that the 3 that I just covered are covered completely. Save and close. And then basically you've just created your new client that lives in the database that everybody can see now.
If you put your customer's a jerk on there, we're not sure where it's gonna pop up.
It might pop up in your proposal. Any questions? I mean, that's just a dry run. I look at it as pretty, you know, self-explained, just showing you guys where it's at.
Is that you up there at the top, to send email and create appointment or communicate?
We're not, yeah, we're not using that right now.
I've never seen it. Okay.
So moving on to building of a project, this is gonna kind of overlap from our D2's 101. I'm just gonna go into a little bit more further detail. Building of a project within D2s can be done several different ways based off the size of the project, the way it requires to be broken out when proposed, for example, buildings, locations, phases, and where systems were simple as the sales estimator wants to read it. Going based off of what I say with the sales estimator wants to read it. And I'll show you guys an example. I kind of break my projects down a different way than other people because if I got to go back and do a sniff check on a certain area or something like that, it allows me to work more efficiently and quickly. That's just the way I look at it. So
Which view is this? Is this your active?
this is projects. We're looking at projects right now.
This is active project.
Yeah.
Okay.
This portion of this portion will help with determining on how utilizing locations and systems benefit when entering products into your project. This also covers entering product that doesn't exist in a catalog at the time of bid. Note, our industry contains a wide variety of products and range between all systems, and that not all items can, that's a typo, basically be stored into the catalog if not used on a regular basis. And we run into this every once in a while. You know, we need a shelf or something like that. We use it like one every 5 years or something type deal. So that's the reason why we don't put it into the catalog, because it's just not being utilized enough to take space in the catalog. I'm actually gonna open the old one real quick here.
This is click happy.
This is just for training purposes on this project here. Introduction to locations. A location can be used in multiple ways as described above based off the magnitude of your project. This may be beneficial for how the project may be in size and or phase. Locations can be used to break this down further. For example, I'm going to use a couple projects that we've bid in the past. Boise, New Mexico, and up in Montana with a VA where we had like 50 different buildings that were multiple floors. So we utilized your location here on the right-hand side to break out all the buildings type deal. So, you know, one building was only four stories. The other building was 20-something stories. So by us utilizing the location based off the building number, it made it a lot easier for us to enter it and break it down to look at the project. Setting up locations and systems. Using locations allows you to drill down specific points of a project. Setting a location always allows you, the location allows you to add sub locations, which leads to multiple sub locations within. Not all projects require this, but is a good practice. For example, say we have a 20-level hotel with lower levels as convention space, retail, restaurants, parking garage, and lobby area. The hotel above are to be separated from all systems. We're able to set locations as low rise and high rise and sub locations each level or floor. This allows the possibility of the project manager ordering material per level or floor, per phase, per building, and so forth. This also coincides with your systems. So you guys kind of understand how I'm kind of breaking that down when you look at it, especially if we do a 20-story hotel and we know working our way up, we're working our way down. Within D-Tools, by using these locations, we can further break down where our project managers can order per IDF what they need, per the fiber backbone or horizontal cabling pathways and so forth. This is generally like how I break mines down. So, which this also helps me lead to, sniff checking my horizontal cabling. That's just gonna be patch panels, cable, jacks, faceplates. I can see where my time is. If I've got 100 cables, I can see that I've got like 100 hours. So I'm roughly about an hour per cable from start to finish.
Another way of thinking about it, or another option, is about how the customer wants to be billed. If you can bill by floor, then it's a clean, cut, dry process that your parts are ordered, it's completed, and you can bill on it and you can move on. So think about billing it again.
Schedule values also, right?
It helps
Sometimes
in
you're gonna-
estimating when I
You're gonna rough in all your cabling pretty much, or your J hooks first, and then your pathways, J hooks, then your cabling, then you're building out IDFs, where MDFs are usually always towards the end. So this kind of gives you a better gauge to look at projects like that for schedule values or ordering.
Has anybody used the Gantt chart feature on this? I don't know how this would relate to it. There's a Gantt chart, right, Garrett?
I think
There is, but I think there was some issues we had when we tried to set it up with one of the previous jobs, so,
Yeah, I don't know, so maybe that's something I can look into
yeah.
with these new
That'd be
revisions.
a help.
That's outside the scope of this.
Right.
Yeah.
right.
Yes.
Okay.
So setting up location systems, I went over that. So step one, determining your locations. The following is some examples of different ways of possibly setting up locations. A, you select your teardrop here on the left where it says manage. We're gonna open that guy up. This one's already pre-filled, but of course it's gonna be blank. This is consider your manage project location window, as you can see at the top there. Once managed project location opens, we select new icon, which allows us to create locations and sub-locations. Note that a location needs to be created to create a sub-location. So as you guys can see here, what I had put in caps is my location. Everything below it are my sub-locations. So it's as simple as you want to add another sub-location to network. You go to new and you can select sub-location. And then that's what drills down and adds the ones down further there. I also use it to break out my CCTV and my AV and so forth. So it's kind of doubling up on what my systems here are at the bottom right. But like I said, when I go back through and do a sniff check, I can specifically go to CCTV horizontal cabling and look at that. And I broke out pathways, equipment, miscellaneous. C is what is your motive? Is it phased? Does it consist of multiple buildings, include multiple systems? Do we need to break out any items, etc.? This is solely based on how you guys want to look at the project. Like I said, this is my way of reviewing projects. When everything's already entered in and before I submit, I do a sniff check to make sure that everything looks good by looking at my locations. How many hours do I have? Material wise, does it all kind of seem right before submitting? Always double checking and not just send it straight out.
Here, under the systems, have they fixed, or is there issue or an ability now to have some, like Ollie bid the CCTV and another person bid the network all in one project now?
No, you can only still open one.
Okay.
One project can only be opened by one user, so not multiple people can work in the same project or TD number. You guys already seen, a lot of you guys don't see, but when I have projects of larger magnitude and we're going in on all systems, I basically set up one, clone it, and I'll send the fire alarm to Jack and Greg, the CCTV to Pete and Jim, and then the AV to Swanson and Cameron. So that way they can all, we don't have to wait for one person to be working in it. We can all do our own individual systems and then we just combine it together, or we send it out proposals as per system on larger projects. But smaller projects, you guys can always just put it in as one project.
Speaking of cloning, when you use locations, it's easy to clone a closet to multiple floors by building one out fully.
Correct.
And that goes not just for the closet, but for the whole floor. You enter your part numbers all in one floor and you can clone it to multiple.
And change the
floors.
quantities,
And then
yeah.
just adjust as.
We'll get into that later on.
Okay. Good.
D is, are you able to sniff check like I just talked about? I always look at my horizontal cabling as roughly I should be about an hour, depending on the situation. New build outs about an hour. It's existing TI, we're gonna kind of bump it up because we have to deal with existing ceilings, conditions, so forth. E, are you able to extract, delete, and break out a project with minimized effort? Does it include any OFCI, owner furnished contractor installed items required to show breakout per system, etc.? You can also, I'm gonna note on top of that, when you spit out proposals, you can select it, which I'll show later, as your systems, or you can do it as your your locations. F, can be used for change orders on projects after awarded to show breakouts per entering change orders to be shown in further training. I don't know if any of you guys seen current projects we have that somebody else has won. When awarded, I use locations to add the change order. So you can look at just specifically the change order. I don't try to dump it into any of these locations that are existing. So once the project is locked, you are still able to enter your locations. You just won't be able to enter your systems. That gets locked in for labor reasons. But as you come to this window here, enter location, and I put like CO1 dash added data in a room or something like that, or there was an ASI that was released on the project. That way you're keeping your change orders separated also within D tools. Not all of them will be approved, but if you just start gelling them all together, it's going to be a lot more harder to separate it later on.
Can you see that as a system under a dashboard as a change order?
You still can select the systems
Right,
for whatever the change order may be.
right.
You just can't add from
Right.
previously, you can't add systems onto an existing job.
But as a whole, when we do the dashboard, you can't see the change orders that we have out.
No, that was another question that we gotta address later. So once you have this all set up, of course, save and close, and then it'll populate into that right side there within this box. Anybody got any questions in regards to locations? There's not one right way. I keep telling you guys as a disclaimer, this is just the way I like looking at my projects. And this is kind of the way I set it up. So different systems. I know on AV, we listed as what, Cameron, per room, right?
Yeah.
So his locations will list all the rooms within the project. So
I use locations for options too.
you can also do the locations, adding on to that, I forgot. You can do add alternates.
Yep.
At bid time. So when you go to spit it out, you select locations, and if a job has any add alternates that are required to be broken out to show.
I ran into an issue. I have two add alternates that are negative add alternates.
Oh,
And it
oh yeah,
doesn't-
we're not
it
gonna
doesn't
talk about
work.
that, yeah, that's a
Doesn't
pain in the
work.
ass.
Step 2.
Step 2, determining locations, basically we just run on following of some examples of setting up systems. We kind of really covered that. Selecting the icon, so I showed you guys the one for location. And then this one's for systems. Kind of the same deal. We're gonna use this icon for manage. Opens just up like locations. This is pre-filled, but we're not adding new. we're not using new on here. We are using add. As you guys can see, it's all preloaded with the 100 codes for phasing. I mean,
Add 100 in there for, like we talked about.
yeah, we'll talk about it.
Okay.
So we're using add because we want everything that has a 200 code, which, you guys all know is associated with the clock in, clock out system. So 200s, your security, 300s and so forth and so forth. There's been some changes which Jim brought up that we're gonna change, after discussions with the higher ups. So you just basically click on the boxes that you need, add and close.
Does anybody really know why that's done that way or why they shouldn't touch it? Because people are still adding and we have to go in and delete. It's for dashboards and accounting. That's how everything's tracked through the system.
So they can pull the reports based off of the 200s. And so if we start adding stuff, it throws the whole system off.
Some people can still add either that have been overlooked or they have the ability to do it and they just don't understand why they shouldn't. So.
Any questions on systems? So step 3, we're gonna go into what we consider this the drop zone, adding products. So once location and systems are set up, the drop zone on the right side of the project editor, which is basically the screen that we're looking at right now, will display what was entered on the previous steps. The project is ready to enter products. So your section 4, project editor, your project has been created and issued a TD number. This is a portion that will contain everything associated within your project. We talked a little bit about viewing icon on the left-hand side here. Gives you the ability to view your project editor different ways. Best practice is to change the drop-down item to view. This option will give you what we're currently looking at, a list of all your products that you drop in based off of your locations. As you can see there, this is associated with IDF1, and then this section is associated with my horizontal cabling. If you go to summary, and we're double covering this from the last. If you go to item summary, then that's just going to compile all your material that you have in a job and show it as one line item instead of the quantity lists. So if you have 2 post racks and several different IDFs and you go to the item summary on the left-hand side, it will condense that all down and show it as a one line item.
A lot of times you have to reset filters to get everything to show.
Which, yeah, if it's not showing, you ever run into that issue if it's not showing, that reset,
Yep.
just basically hitting that reset will
It's a good
regenerate the window again and kind of refresh it.
It'll clear all the filters.
Correct. So now going to adding material and labor to the project. On that sheet that I sent out to you guys, check the location and system you want to add the material and labor to under the drop zone. Say, for instance, I'm gonna go horizontal cabling. Oh, correction, let me just use what it's shown on the sheet, IDF1 and network infrastructure cabling.
You have to select those or it goes down the sign.
If you don't select these on both windows, your locations and your systems, everything is gonna go on as unassigned. And so we'll cover on reason why for unassigned, because if it goes unassigned there, and because it doesn't have a system, it's gonna throw off your labor rates on a project. And probably not calculate correctly. Same thing with your material when you drop it into locations. So if these, like I said, if these are not checked or highlighted, then it automatically defaults to unassigned, which
You
will
can
probably
fix it
cost.
after, but
You can fix it, but it's more of a headache. You do it right the first time in a sense. So, adding material from our catalog with both,
you do
that both have the same functions, just a different look. Material should have the labor associated with it already. Top row of the project editor. You got this window here, add products. Basically gives you a list, a general list rundown. It pop up in a window, and this is basically your catalog. Then you type in your search, unless you want to go through all 126 pages looking for one thing.
That's all it is.
Search, say for instance, what's the quickest way? CS 34P. Oh,
Typo.
fat fingered it. It's the, you see this keyboard? It's pink.
Sorry.
Here's everything associated, Uniprise. CS 34P. Then you can basically just click on that and drag it, click on whatever you need and drag it over to,
Why aren't those prices updated for us?
because you don't pay me enough.
Stop causing trouble.
I'm just, but other prices like
Hey,
ADI prices, they
hey.
are, and that's not.
Let's talk about it later. That's one option. Second option you're gonna have is, which I tend to use a lot more, is the project tab on the left-hand side. Search CS 34P. Same function, listed the same as the other window we looked at. Click on the one that you need, simply drag it over and drop it on there. Of course, with cabling, it's gonna give us this also with jacks. It's gonna pop up as a separate window. You can adjust your footage here if you already know it. So I can change this to, let's see, 100,000 feet.
Good job.
It's the only ones I do, bro.
Spoiled.
Let's go back to view, a lot easier. That's a cable that I just dropped it in there. So, any questions on that? No? You covered the left side of the project editor, same as the products. You have the labor tab here. It's basically the same function. Only thing is the labor one is strictly labor only. As you guys can see, owner furnished material, test and label, fiber copper, not really a product. It's strictly just labor. Side, same deal. So I just showed that labor on the left side tab, also up top. Adding labor,
I've got a question for you, Garrett.
yes.
When you add a product from the product explorer on the left, is the phase automatically associated with it?
Yes, yeah, right, Jay? Can you confirm
And
that? It should be.
if somebody put it in there, that's been one of the issues. When they added it to the catalog, they didn't put it in.
Put the phase in? Okay.
Yeah.
Because,
Wait, is there issues with the phasing not be associated with it?
well, to be honest with you, primarily I add a new product every single time, but I'm noticing with the revision on the newer D-tools, now you have to select the phase in the general tab of the new product as
Right.
well as in the price tab.
Okay, I gotta look further into that. That might be freaking 103,
Okay.
so we can drill down more on that. What's material and labor and project editor, it will show that line item like how we see here, line itemized, locations and systems as you desired. I mean, most of you guys have pretty much, this is just a dry run to go through. Showing you guys how to enter that like we covered in 101. Now it's adjusting material and labor of items in your project, material quantities we want to cover. I know this was discussed last time, and some people not knowing, say for instance, we want to, material quantities, one option for single purchase items is to double click on the material line, open the edit product window and change the amount and quantities under the general icon. So for instance, right now I'm just showing as a one jack. This is as an example of how to do this. We double click and open this guy up here. We got our model number, part number, and so forth. This is the general area that I'm talking about. And for some reason, this is not clicked as bulk item.
It never does.
If we click on that, it gives us the option to change that quantity to 25.
I found a lot of times I can change it to 25 without selecting bulk.
That means that's probably
Sometimes grayed
it's
out,
probably already,
sometimes it isn't.
it's probably already preset. So that's a matter of if having to comb through with everything again to fix the system.
I always like doing
So-
bulk because it shows up a single line item.
Using bulk helps me a lot too, because I can enter it as a one line item and not clone it 24 other times.
Yeah.
Is there a max bulk number you could enter there?
999, it won't go to 1,000.
Really freaking
Yeah.
stupid.
I don't know why we can't, for some reason, I don't think we can adjust it. It's locked at
SQL databases.
for cabling wise, we can enter the footage as much as we can. If for some reason it's this quantity box is
We
999.
never sell more than 1,000 jacks.
So in that, what we just covered, you see there, for you guys' future reference in regards to, changing those quantities. What am I on? 10, page 10.
Yes.
I'm gonna cancel out of that actually. For cabling, another option would be for, double clicking on your material line item for, also doing it with cabling. Where's the one we just, for example, this one here. We go over to,
Specifications.
it's already clicked as bulk wire, then you're able to change your cabling here to maybe I messed up and counted everything twice and it's not 100,000, it's 10,000 feet. Save and close and readjusts. Go back into here, covering material pricing, clicking on the item for the units here. You guys all complain that this D-Tools is not updated on a regular basis. I'm gonna tell you guys, sorry, tough luck, because we're not gonna change it every day. A lot of times you guys are gonna wanna get, based off the size of your project, is quotes from vendors. So here, once you get your guys' quotes back on your material, then you go back through and you guys can change it, if the price is not accurate. So.
We do have a few partners that are linked. Unfortunately, whoever entered in the original initial part number didn't do it right. They put the dash or didn't put a dash, so it doesn't update. So that's the importance of making sure that the information that you put in is accurate the first time out the gate. So
It's also a simple, good practice to do your sniff check. I mean, Dennis doesn't stress enough on me doing sniff check on every single project, no matter what the size is. Don't take it for granted and trust me that this price is gonna be right, bro, because I'm the last guy you guys should trust. Trust me. So, we all know, what is it, Uniprice,
28 cents, 27.
is it 28 now?
Yeah.
See, because it's changing day to day.
Eldon's
Yeah.
285.
So changing that there, of course, for some reason, D-Tools clears out here. So once you get that, we want to double check and make sure our margin and markup is not at zero. For some reason, it wigs out and blanks out when you change that price there. 33%. Verifying, that was for the pricing, right? Cover the cost for labor adjustment while we're in this window here. Was it UP that said something about this, having an issue with this,
With the phasing, yeah.
the phasing? We always want to double check our phasing.
That
'Cause
isn't
that's
phase,
gonna
that's
be-
labor.
That's gonna be based off of your labor rates, in your systems or in your project. So we always want to make sure that this is populated with the correct. We're doing cabling right now. It's a rough in, for sure. I know you guys are gonna bring this up, and that's why I'm discussing it right now. V21 took away the decimal here.
I like
Well,
this house.
I gotta bring it up right now because right now it's instead of 0.004, 0.005 per foot on cabling,
Yeah, 5
It's-
hours, 1,000.
it's hour, minutes and seconds.
So
42 seconds.
So it's been, half the users on the group hate it. They're gonna bring it back. They said they wanna bring it back, and I told them, give us the option. So we'll see what happens on the next hot back.
So there's a
Yeah, this is-
checkbox,
this is
unit
in further-
labor hours per foot. That
The
checkbox,
checkbox over there. if you do-
but it doesn't do anything. If you unselect that
don't-
checkbox, it doesn't change.
Don't look at it. We'll just cover it up.
I do, you're right. But I wanted to bring it up.
I don't think, checked or unchecked, I don't think this really makes a matter. Matter. You wanna make sure that your material price is correct and your labor price is correct. Cause if this is not read, this cabling is per second,
18 seconds a foot.
because we don't order it as a box. In the, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't into the PO process is ordered per foot
Yes.
when we send it out to all our vendors? So that way we have to conform this to foot, because then they would have to convert it on their side, so.
The PO can go out however it goes out, so however you guys put it in,
Okay,
It's-
I
because
was,
we
It's by
copy, because she
foot.
copies and pastes,
It's by foot.
it goes out that way. So if you end up putting it in per box for some reason, that's how it's gonna go
I
out.
just figured that's the way, because when I get quotes from vendors, they all come in per foot anyways. I've never seen any vendor ever quote it as per box.
Have you ever bought 300 feet of Cat 6?
Nope. Out of stock.
So I want to make sure that I point this out now, because not everybody is really catching it. I don't know if the other offices catch it, but you guys need to. I'm not smart enough to catch on to this, the seconds per foot with the cabling. So I've got like a decimal converter on my desktop right now. I'm used to the decimals for the last 20 years, 0.005.
So on the bottom right, you see 55 hours and 0 minutes.
That's calculating on how much footage I have on this.
That's right.
this
So
line
that's
item.
what I'm looking at when I enter my time.
I mean, that's part of your sniff check, right?
Yes.
So if this was off, then you know already it throws up a red flag. You got to go back over here and adjust that.
Because I know how much wire I'm putting in, so.
Right.
I only notice when my cable line item is like 1,400,000.
$1,000 per foot.
Yeah.
I'm trying to fix
Did you
those.
sell that
too.
job?
Any questions in regards to this portion? Because
Taxable,
everything is not taxable.
right. Unchecked.
We're uncheck this,
After.
and of course, utilizing the drop down. A lot of times, we just showed you guys with the client, setting up the taxes. We went over that earlier. That will technically default your projects for that specific client as use tax. So you'll never basically expose yourself accidentally. With that, we talked about that sales tax line item on your proposal type deal. So cover that real quick before we jump into something else. We talked about the taxable and use tax being set as that.
And then your
We
sniff
can-
test.
We can also do it as once you have everything in your project, all your product in here. Click on one of these line items, Control A to highlight all. I'm gonna right click, go to mass update, my products.
Yes.
taxes, taxable.
That's
I want to make sure that that's unchecked.
Good practice. Save.
And then second portion of it is the use tax. Same drop down as we seen before. Go to use tax. That's gonna hide my tax into my lump sum on my proposal.
I've never done that.
See?
It's always been right, so.
I always do it as part of my sniff check.
Settings.
Hey Garrett, what is the use tax? I thought it was like 8.375, but you've got like 10% in there.
it's 10%.
I said as 10% as my fluff.
Oh, so there's fluff in there. Okay.
Yeah,
That's just the catch-all in case we did that, in case somebody didn't check it, at least we're covered
You're talking about labor rates?
for our highest rate.
no for tax, use tax.
But no,
On your sniff test, you have a sum for that line item at the bottom left under taxable. Did you notice that? So it calculates your material cost and your labor cost and gives you a total for that line item in the bottom. And that's a good use for the sniff test to make sure it's reasonable
Right,
for what you're building.
yes,
Line item.
yes.
Man, you guys are doing a lot of sniffing.
I use that a lot.
you are.
Professional sniffer.
I don't see, I don't
I get to the end and I do my sniffing at the end.
Any questions before I move on?
Real quick, Garrett, so as we just recently made sure that we were gonna do different labor rates here in Vegas and looking at doing potentially different rates elsewhere. Is there somewhere right here that you can view that base labor rate, that cost
Settings.
and make it,
settings.
and adjust it, or?
We're,
is
we're
it
talking about
settings?
labor,
Labor
rates.
base rate, yes.
Based on rough and.
Labor type.
so we're gonna cover it real quick here. Top left, icon new, we're gonna go, I wanna look at phase. So this is taking the whole project as your phase on the left-hand side there. Your rough in, trim, so forth and whatnot. You wanna make those adjustments based off your project, your area, your prevailing wage or something like that. Labor types. It's gonna bring up this window here. Of course, you could see side-by-side pathways. I don't have anything in there. Rough in. We can adjust this to 75, and we're still in discussion on changing these defaults, correct?
Have they changed?
They
The
did.
Where-
the defaults are not going to change. We are going to manually change them as we need.
Okay, I
They
was
do not
unaware of
show
that.
those numbers anymore. They did change.
They changed they went higher, a little
They
bit.
went up. That's right.
I mean,
The default.
Go back to pathways.
Fifty-two.
Go back to pathways real quick.
We're gonna have to do this
See, it's 67.
Yeah, this is still in discussion, right?
in a week or something,
used to be
to
like
put
that.
together this whole thing, to make sure everyone's on the
Yes.
same page.
Well, now,
Okay.
no,
We're already
now
at this
it's like
point in
85.
Okay, so at least we can see where to do it. Will the default piece
Yes.
may be a discussion
This is-
further on.
Okay, so for general practice is once I have everything in and I got a prevailing wage, I'm gonna go back through my phase summary here real quick and say my rough in, and right now Clark County, $95.71 cost. That's what we figured out our cost is on a prevailing wage. And of course, I have it set at 40, so technically I'm 159.52 plus my 10% on any contingency right now. I'm actually going out the door at 164.52. So this is when I go and ask for forgiveness and ask if I can really go get this job and adjust. I'm not gonna adjust my cost price. That's already locked in on based off of our, fringe and all this and that and so forth. I'm gonna ask nicely to try and bring that percentage back down to make, after I win it.
So, and then just to clarify, you use the word contingency, but that management labor and design labor, we do need something in there to make sure we're capturing the costs that we incur for that, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So you were pulling, this is based off your factor of 100%. We're using 5% of whatever the labor hours is for management and 5% on that same amount of labor hours for design
And
labor.
that is perfect.
I don't think that's defaulted for all labor types.
No, that's only for the rough-in phase.
It's only for the rough-in phase.
So we need to look at it.
Trim.
For
phase.
trim,
You-
finish,
It should be across the board.
head end for some reason is missing.
Okay.
Like I said, it's
It's-
not.
This is, like I said, this is one of the tweaks where something's wigging out with the system that if nobody says anything, then we don't know.
Yeah.
Okay,
Because not all of us use those, where are gonna use the phases or anything like that.
I have to
So-
change it on every job I bid.
okay. I
Okay.
didn't want to take us too far off, so thank you.
Guys are in
No,
this.
this is important.
It's important.
I can't mass update all labor types at the same time. I gotta do each one individually.
I want to dive into some of the issues that you guys have entering of products, labor that's not in a catalog. Not all products exist within Teledata's catalog due to the amount of manufacturers used and were not used on a regular basis. Simply may also be an off item for a specific project. This product labor will only show within the project only, and does not automatically populate into the D-Tools catalog. The company Excel sheet what me and Jay are still working on for you guys to request for certain items to be added on. We'll provide that at a later date.
Well, there's
So-
one existing that everyone's been emailed when we first initially started. It's still there, it's still active, but they've added some things. We'll look at that. But there is one out there.
So, what I'm basically gonna cover is, some of you guys have had issues where a product has not been in the catalog and you need to add it in for your bidding purposes. Like I just read, that when you add it into this project, it's only gonna live in this project. It doesn't automatically swing over to the catalog or anything like that. So keep in mind, if you've entered it into your project, you go back into the catalog, you don't see it, you said you entered it. Well, technically, not everybody has the rights to enter it into the catalog to prevent any duplications or so forth. So moving forward, we're gonna go to the new icon here at the top. Use the drop down, and we're gonna add a product. It's gonna open your new product window. See if I can do this real quick. Filling in basically. Yeah, I kill it with sometimes maybe too much information, but I'm making sure that all that information is in there. With your manufacturer, so you can simply type in the name to auto-populate or use the drop-down. Showing you guys won't have, I don't think none of you guys should be able to use new. So then you have this drop-down, which has your list of all the manufacturers that right now are currently inside the catalog. If not, they simply just put
And you just, basically a quick email to myself or Garrett to add a manufacturer is all that's needed. We can get it in there in a few seconds.
if it's not already in there, but because there's a lot listed there. Manufacturer, model, which would be the manufacturer's model number, CS 34P, pink.
Matches the keyboard.
Category, drop down to select the product associated with this. These things do have, I don't know why it doesn't show the asterisks anymore. These are already filled in. You guys won't be able to add any new unless requested. I know the 34P pink is a wired cable. We want to populate that there.
And when you're populating this, please take note that if your manufacturer like ADI puts a 3-digit manufacturer code in, don't use that. That's their issue. Because when we start importing and exporting this into Sage and or getting other vendor quotes, you can't give them that XPX number in front of a real part number because that vendor won't know what to do with it.
I'm gonna speed it up real quick because I'm hungry already. Category data, product number. A lot of times manufacturers, Belden uses the same one, Levington uses the same one, CommScope doesn't. They have a different model number from part number. So if you have those, for good reference for you guys to use, I use, unfortunately, CommScope's website to find how to populate this with the correct model number and part number and put it in, fill in these boxes here. Quantity, of course, it doesn't have is as checked as bulk. If needed, then you select your phase. Cabling is gonna be rough in. Serial numbers, IP addresses, MAC addresses, doesn't pertain to time. Can be used later on for NVRs, APs, any AV equipment that we have.
On the phases, can you hit the phases in the price too? Does it carry over, or do you have to enter the phase?
In the
on that
price, it's a
phase?
labor type, not a phase type.
This one is more important that I found out, but you always want to click it twice, so. Description, short description, long description, but again, like I told you guys, I use CommScope's website, so I just copy and paste from their website directly into here. Then we get to the pricing, kind of what we adjusted, what you have, the cabling as .265,
Now, yeah, phase type now. That's what it is.
labor, a margin, markup,
That's correct.
add your labor type, rough in. This is always gonna be,
1 minute.
18 seconds. Oh, that just added, so,
No sales tax.
tax, no sales tax, use tax. Location and systems where I want to add it, horizontal cabling. There, counting for you guys' view doesn't really pertain. Specifications, it's wiring, so I know I need bulk wire. Ten 10,000 feet. This is all on a year base depending on what you have. The only time,
Order install tells you where to apply it though.
it does. If you already have project pricing already, you can do this at any time with any projects, your vendor.
Who we got it from?
You got all the vendors listed there that you can use, Arrow, Annixter, and so forth. Codell Electric.
Is Netcode gone now? It's just Codell.
Yeah, Netco's gone.
Rest of the tabs I don't typically use. The only time is if I'm adding a jack, which we pretty much got all of them, is adding a labor to it on top of the jack for testing of copper or fiber. And that's,
Did we add a line item for testing rental for, because Dennis wanted us to put like $1 per test, something like that?
no, I'm
Actually,
trying to get through this, guys.
that brings
trying to
me
get
back
through
to
this.
packages.
Save and close,
On jacks.
there it is. Any questions on adding new products?
Can I modify the labor on test and label as part of the package?
You can, once it lives inside your project, yes. You won't be able to change it into a global, but that's the risk you're taking on your own, so. And that pretty much, we just whizzed through that, adding that product, which I think was more important to cover. Anybody got any questions?
Nope.
Yes. The other guys, the other offices?
Good.
They good? We're good?
I'll give
So a
you
couple
mine.
things real quick, Garrett, thank you very much. As we
Garrett.
kind of go through this, one of the things Evelyn has asked you guys to do to send any questions